everyone. I hope you guys are doing well this week. We are heading into some warmer months. I know some of you are still dealing with cold and snow. However, when you're soaping, always try to keep in mind you're soaping from 4 to 8 weeks out. So that's anywhere from a month to 2 months in advance of your season. So, in preparation for our upcoming summer, I would like to get some salt bars done. This is a very popular product in the summer. People are doing a lot of swimming and sun tanning and a lot of other activities, and, well, they're really drying themselves out. Now, salt bars do not dry your skin out. This is a very misunderstood product. Using sea salt, you are actually rehydrating your skin and adding the necessary minerals to your skin that sweating and everything else removes. Now, no, it does not have to be a scratchy experience either. The finer grain of salt that you use is a smoother, almost marble-like feeling of soap. Now, you can use a heavier grain and get that scratchy experience. But from my personal experience, both using and selling, a nice fine grained salt works beautifully. You can find the containers, even in your grocery store, of fine grained sea salt. It's become a very popular alternative in the cooking area. Now, you cannot use dead sea salt, and you cannot use Epsom salt. These will make your soap weep and separate. It has to be either regular salt or something like pink Himalayan salt or black lava salt or a sea salt, okay? I'm going to use a fine-grained sea salt for mine. Now, the recipe I gave you at the beginning, if you need to go back and take a look again, is a full water recipe. Now, you have 3 options with this. You can do it as I've shown, or you can sub out half your water for a milk. I'm doing mine with coconut milk. Or you can even do a full water replacement. Now, if you don't want your lye to turn it orange and funky and stink all to heaven, you need to freeze the milk and add the lye very slowly. Okay? So just make sure you're doing it in small increments. Do it over an ice bath if you have to. But if you're like me and you're impatient, I do half of my lye water solution, and I'll show you some pictures here. And during that, I will do a pure ice cube and stir, stir, stir. And then you got to give it a few minutes to let it fully melt and dissolve, and keep stirring and keep stirring, and then set that back to get cold again. And once it's completely dissolved, because those little granules will stay in there for a while, then you can add your cold milk to that solution. Now, it will heat up slightly, but if you do it over an ice bath, you won't have that problem. So I'm going to show you what mine looks like now. This is mine completely cooled off. See, it's thick, but it stayed a beautiful light color. Look at that creamy, yummy goodness. All right? And the other trick to salt bars is you'll notice in the recipe there is a huge amount of coconut oil. You can do a 100% coconut oil. It's all in your super fatting. Now, when we use coconut oil in a regular bar of CP soap, the higher level coconut oil can be very drying to the skin the way it saponifies. So anything over 20-25%, you can start getting a little bit of itchiness and dryness in your soaps unless you really offset it with a good super fatting. But with a salt bar, the salt makes the lather non-existent. Kills it. Absolutely. So you're not going to get a regular fluffy lather if you're trying to use a regular soap recipe. By using that oil coconut oil, which creates abundant lather, and going very high in your super fatting. I recommend at the lowest end 10%, all the way up to 20% super fat. And that way you've got enough loose oils in that soap that it's going to moisturize the skin properly. Now, I've also got a touch of shea in here just to help ease that along, okay? So we've got a really creamy, rich, abundant soap and lather in this. Very hydrating, very nourishing for the skin, not really scratchy at all, very smooth and marble-like in its consistency. Now, the other thing I want to warn you about before we get going, because I'm not going to talk a lot once we're moving, is that once you add your salt, your soap is going to move fast. So I recommend not doing it in a loaf because it will harden up and become difficult to cut and crumbly for newbies. This happens even with those of us that have been doing it for years. So your best bet is to use an individual mold. I have here an individual bar mold that I'm going to use for my batch. That way I don't have to worry about trying to cut it. It's going to stay nice and smooth. So I'm going to color my batch, I'm going to fragrance my batch, and I'm going to do it only to a very light trace. I'm not going to bring it up heavy at all. And then I'm going to hand stir in the salt, give it one quick blast with the stick blender, and pour immediately. This will move quickly on you, okay? So we'll be right back, and we'll get started. Okay, so I have my oils, and I have a teaspoon of kaolin clay. Now, why kaolin clay? It's not required. You don't have to. I just like using it when I'm going to use a fragrance that might drift a bit. Salt bars are notorious for fading. Okay, so a little bit of kaolin clay will help fix and stay that scent. And I'm also doing a citrus. It's summer. I want something light and pretty. So I'm doing a bergamot blend. And I love bergamot for summertime. It's not a sweet, orangey kind of scent. It's just light and bright. It has that citrus note to it. Kind of an orange, lemon, grapefruit, without being overwhelming sugar. So that's what I've done here, and I'm going to go ahead and incorporate all this before I even add my lye solution. There we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and color it, and I'm just going to do a hint of kind of a yellowish orange. There we go. Alright. A little bit more. Again, I have not added my lye yet. Okay. There we go. Now, make sure you have your mold ready. And now I'm going to add my coconut milk lye. Get my spatula. Make sure you get every little drop of this. You don't want to short yourself on your lye. So scrape, scrape, scrape. There we go. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to separate this out because I want to do a double color. I'm going to add to that one. Not even, so I'm going to set my yellow aside, and I've already got that yellow. And now I'm going to add a bit of red to this side. Now, I've got my salt, and I'm doing an 80% salt ratio. So whatever the weight of your soap oils are, 80% of that is salt. And I'm going to split that up between my two. There we go. And I'm going to mix. The reason why we start this off by hand is because it's really going to accelerate trace on here. Especially if you're using a floral. And I want to have plenty of time to work this. Now I can come in and stick blend a bit. There we go. Okay. Now see, I still got lots of playtime now. Scooch. Woohoo, we're getting fancy double pour. There we go. And turn. And I've got just enough left over to do some of my little sample soap cups. But before we do that, I want to finish my design. Take a stick. And we're just going to go side, 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 all the way down to the bottom. Nothing crazy, just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add some glitter to this. Okay, and there we go. Hey guys, so it's nighttime now. A few hours later, I popped these in the freezer for about an hour, hour and a half, and I was able to lightly tap them out. So, I know the color is a little yellow because it's nighttime and I've got the lights on in the house. But there they are. Gorgeous and smooth and super creamy and so easy to make, and I'm telling you, they're a great product to add to your lineup. Give them a try. I think you're gonna love them. I know I do.